Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Spectrum, live on Radio 1 FM 90, broadcasting from the Central Building, which is the home of this radio station. We're live on our website, www.radio1fm90.com. You click on the icon with the word Listen Live. You can also find this radio station on the different radio listening apps. The apps, you can find them in the App Store of your smartphone. You download it from Radio 1 FM 90, and as long as you have an internet connection, you'll be able to listen to us from anywhere across the globe. We do encourage you to share with us your thoughts about the topic of discussion today. Please do send us messages via the WhatsApp line 0703-090-090. The guests in studio will be responding to you, but also it will be a great contribution as a citizen to the ongoing discourse about some of the key issues that are happening in our country. My name is Kenneth Anderson Lukwago, your host. I have two guests today in studio. Dr. Fred Muhumza, Senior Economist and Director, Economic Forum, Makerere University Business School. Mr. Amos Wekesa, Founder and CEO, Great Lakes Safaris, Head of the Rwenzori Marathon Organizing Committee, a key player in the private sector in our country with a background of tourism. Today we'll be asking a question. What are the likely implications of the protection of national sovereignty law on the economy? Well, Parliament continues to scrutinize this particular bill, and a number of people have been before this committee, including private citizens, civil society, economists, and today there was that major appearance by the Bank of Uganda team. Now, one of the people who spoke in the committee today was the governor himself, Dr. Ating Ego. I'm going to play a clip so that it gives us a start to try and understand the nitty-gritties and how this particular law is likely to affect the economy.
The potential of this bill to destabilize Uganda's balance of payments is our primary concern as a central bank because it affects cross-border flows. For example, last financial year, the overall balance of payment surplus was 1.5 billion, meaning that inflows in the financial account were in excess of the deficit in the current account balance by 1.5 billion. And that's how we were able to increase our reserve coverage by 1.5. Today, as we talk, our reserves are close to $6 billion. Why? Because these inflows have been coming in. The moment you tamper with these inflows here, we risk running down our reserves. And that's the economic disaster for a country. These inflows were driven by foreign direct investment of 3.4 billion, portfolio investments of 2.1 billion. Remittances. We are now requiring that if there's a Ugandan in the diaspora, he's a foreigner by the definition of this bill. And anybody who receives these remittances in excess of 400 million is an agent of a foreigner. He has to be registered by the Minister of Internal Affairs. For remittances that are sustaining the livelihoods of Ugandans, we are likely to see a reduction in the remittances. It means that we are going to have pressure on our currency. And then the most striking thing also is the government of Uganda is undertaking significant borrowing to finance its budgets. And if you look at the holding of government of Uganda securities by non-residents, by these foreigners, they are holding close to about $3 billion, which is about 12% of the securities that have been issued. And going by the definition in this bill, where ministerial approval for the threshold is acting as a capital control, experience in other jurisdictions shows that it leads to immediate exit of the offshore investors. And when they exit, it means that we cannot fully finance our deficit through borrowing. And if we're going to finance, it's going to be through very high interest rates. And as they exit, it will have impact on our currency.
Well, the voice there of Dr. Ating Ego, the Governor, Bank of Uganda. I want to begin with you, Dr. Fred Muhumza. Earlier, it was thought that this law is about civil society, it's about politicians. It also touched some aspects of media. But now we are hearing even the Bank of Uganda coming out to speak out, saying that it's not a good law. There are a number of other areas where he spoke even about publication of economic data and how it's likely to affect the economy and how somebody can be charged for economic sabotage. You are an economist and you've had the debate going on about this particular bill. You've taken into consideration the comments made by the Governor, Bank of Uganda, and other key players in the sector, including the Uganda Bankers Association. What is your take about this particular law, and what do you think when you put it together with the kind of economy we are operating in our country?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm glad now the government institutions have come out so that, as you have mentioned, people are not going to look at it as a civil society matter. So it's a government matter. Bankers Association came out, but you can say, well, what do you expect? These are private bankers association. But now the real entity that manages the flows of any country or into and out of Uganda is speaking the truth. Uganda has had a history of limited reserves. Now, for us to build reserves of 6.5 billion is not something that you just wake up and bump into, because people have a right to where to put their money. Even the reserves we are talking about, which are here, the owners of this money can decide and say, me, I'm taking my money away. Now, and I've been discussing with the colleagues in the different circles to say, if there is a gain, Uganda must protect. Remember, we are protecting the gains. The gain of liberalization. Some people did not know what structural adjustment program was about. These were some of the things. Everybody had to get their dollars, including the coffee people, and the dollars were bought from Bank of Uganda only. So whether Wekesa comes with $100, you declare it into the Bank of Uganda. Now you need some $50, you go to Bank of Uganda to buy. We said to people, can we liberalize? And there were people who were saying, the moment you liberalize, money will fly out. We said, but it can also fly in. The point is about what conditions have you created. And the people at the time, Professor Suruma was part of those teams, they went to Ghana, which had already liberalized, to say, what does a liberalized foreign exchange account look like? Because wanted people to bring in money. One of the things that had constrained production in Uganda was people could not bring in money to invest in Uganda and produce. There was a market. Now, there were many businesses and the smuggling was happening. So why should I manufacture from Kenya and then smuggle into Uganda? Because Uganda had constrained the dollar market. And when we liberalized, dollars began coming in. People have been investing. Now, besides the reserves the central bank is talking about, money usually we say is a veil. Money covers a business. I don't come to Amos Wekesa here to say, give me $1 million. And the discussion is just about $1 million. No, behind $1 million is what I want to do. Either to pay fees so that my child can study or buy a car. So money is a veil over the other thing. And we're talking about veils of, I think the veils are of Catholic nuns. There is a head in there. The veil is simply a dressing. So you don't want to say, we received 600 million. Now, be interested in what did it come to do. We know borrowing in dollars in Uganda is about 8.5%. But if I borrow in India where it is 3%, and I want to come and invest in Uganda, what is your problem? Now, all we need to do, we have sufficient government agencies to monitor this money. The other day, somebody wanted to walk in here with $10 million, we caught it. Now, that's why you want to emphasize. To say whether you have hidden it in the middle of your shoes or in the bonnet of your car, we have means of establishing that money. And then what is it coming to do? But as we've said, some person may bring in dollars here to destabilize. But now that does not mean because criminals are using Katonga Bridge to come and destabilize Kampala, we bomb it. No, the criminals are two. Exactly. The criminals are two guys. But for every two guys, there are 10,000 people coming to do good things. So if I have a problem, I want to say, how do I track my criminals? And like we tracked this individual who had hidden dollars in a container in the URA, can we emphasize that? But don't close out the space of a liberalized economy. We are in a global environment. We are trading in that global network. Let monies go. Amos Wekesa here is going to tell you, people send him money to book for them tourism. And these are tourism funds we are talking about. That now tourism is I don't know how many trillions. These girls we are sending abroad, they are sending money here. So how are you going to begin interfering with that? In a global setting, for any country, the global transactions must be allowed to flow. Track them. We have put a lot of things to track money for terrorism, financial tracking.
They are saying that those mechanisms are not sufficient.
Now you try to find out why they're not sufficient. How come they are working for Americans? They are working for Russians? They are working for the British? If they are not working here, did you appoint the right person in that office? Did you equip that person? Because they are working for the global persons. So I think we need to go back, because even this law, you may find a problem. How do you implement it? If people are already sneaking in with the money, then even the law might be there and you still don't get it. But you now have killed the right persons and the criminals will still find their way here. So I think let's not pull out a hammer to kill a mosquito. It's true the mosquito has been taking our blood. It may not even have infected us with malaria if it didn't have it. But don't say, I'm going to hammer this mosquito with a hammer. You're going to break your own glass. Finding a better one. I think there are many options. But what is pleasing for me, it's no longer civil society matter, because there are people usually say, those are noisemakers. But now the government agencies have come out, and I think the discussion will be very well informed, because the information has gone through. I've really read. Parliament cannot come and say we did not receive the adequate information. It has been provided, including World Bank.
Yeah, we saw the statement of the World Bank.
Their statement.
What exactly are they saying, the World Bank?
Of course, even them, they don't want you to limit the flow of finance. Because when the World Bank comes here and gives us a loan, 200 million, to do a road to Moroto, who is going to give value to that road? It's a private investor. The other day we opened up Clinker. The president commissioned the Clinker factory. That guy has brought in how much money? How did it come in? But now even he himself, Clinker, the workers there, somebody may want a state-of-the-art of a hospital in the neighborhood. 100%. Because the current hospital of government may not serve the Clinker workers' needs. These are high-level employees. They need good medical treatment. So me and Wekesa here will look at it and say, man, there is business there. Then we can find insurance cover. How are we going to get this money? I don't want to borrow 8% for the dollars in Uganda when I can partner with an Indian. He brings in money at 3%. Part of it even equity. So it's not even, has no percentage at all. This is what we are promoting to get our tenfold growth. Let's not kill the goose that is actually laying the golden eggs.
Before I move away from you to go to Mr. Amos Wekesa, there's been an argument by government that there's what they would call legal money and that money that is illegal. If the money is coming through the government channels, like investors and all these, big ventures that are coming connected to government, including government borrowing, that is legal money.
Yes.
They are more concerned about illicit flows. That is the argument.
We have anti-money laundering. We have Financial Intelligence Authority. We have even global networks. And I'm glad now we are beginning even to open up, because URI is beginning to look at declarations of money is coming. You want to tap. People will know where these monies are coming from. And some of them we have rejected them because illicit flows, it originates somewhere. Now, you, Uganda, you may wait for it as it is entering here, but through global partnerships, and these global mechanisms are available, and money laundering, which will even tell you, the guy you are dealing with, we don't trust his sources of money. And this information will be coming to you from the Americans. It's like Interpol. Interpol, there are people you will arrest somewhere, and the information you are using did not begin from Uganda, but the people in Korea, the people in Britain have flagged this person to the
global financial system,
to the entire police. So tap into the global financial system, which will even block these people from coming in. Because how do you move $20 million when your business is not even $500,000? These guys will tell you. This person is in the history of moving monies that are big, which are questionable. I don't want to trust my own Ugandan system when I can actually tap like Interpol systems and money laundering mechanisms into the German system, into the Israeli system, into, I don't know, the American system, the British system. These systems are out there, and they can really help us to catch the monies and the individuals, not just the money.
All right. Before we began this discussion, we were looking at the immediate impact that we are likely to see even before the bill itself is passed by Parliament. And there's that statement you made that money hates noise.
Yes.
What kind of signals do you think this bill is sending to the global financial system?
I'll even go back to the local proverb in Runyoro. I don't know that it's a proverb or saying, literally that if a bee is going to sting you, it doesn't make noise around your ear. Because there you hear it.
It will alert you.
It will be alerting you. If it is to sting you, you just hear it has stung you straight. Now, already the noise in Parliament, before you even signed the law, has put off some individuals.
Have you heard from your international colleagues?
There are many who are saying, let's wait and see. Is it going to be signed? So for now, the transaction is off because I'm waiting. Because who knows, the Ugandan will pass law and they will say, the law is now applying. But the money you brought and the money you're sending back is a transaction over 2 years. The guy is advancing the first 2 million. Now he's fearing by the time I advance the next 2 million, the law may be in place. What happens to our investment? Can we wait and see? So already there are flaws from where we sit that people have put on hold to say we are watching your parliamentary processes.
Let's now go to Mr. Amos Wekesa. Listener, you are listening to Spectrum, live on Radio 1 FM 90. We are looking at the impact of, the proposed Protection of National Sovereignty Bill, which is now before Parliament. We are looking at the impact on the economy. I have Dr. Fred Muhumuza, senior economist here in studio, and Mr. Amos Wekesa, the very big man about the tourism sector in our country. Now, Mr. Wekesa, let's come to you and hear, because like Dr. Muhumuza hinted much earlier, your business operates via some sort of remittances, money that comes in from abroad. You are involved in receiving transactions left, right, and center to bring in the tourists here. What is your take about this particular bill, and do you think it's likely to impact on the line of business that you're involved in, Mr. Amos Wekesa?
Actually, the business I'm involved in is everybody's business. Because what happens is when a tourist comes to this country, that tourist will eat eggs. That tourist is going to look for onions. That tourist is going to go to a petrol station. That tourist is going to shop. That tourist is going to empower people that are going to pay school fees in a university where Dr. Muhumuza is actually.
And also stabilize the shilling.
And also stabilize the shillings. And I think for me, it's actually shocking that we really, as a people, are so interested in making sure that we don't have a good name continuously going out there. I was talking to a friend of mine today, and he said, Uganda is like this guy who wakes up in the morning. Yesterday, he shot the right leg. Then the next morning, he says, but for me to get out of my house, I'm going to shoot the left leg. Hits it,
Total decapitation.
Absolutely. And he also wants to survive. I am 100% sure that government has probably a reason why they're trying to push for this agenda. But I don't think that agenda is equivalent to the destruction that this discussion. In fact, we should not even be having this discussion. As a country, we have just come out of consistent, continuous hammering of this country. When you would hear Ebola announcements, that could do two things. It blocked growth for Uganda's tourism, but also actually killed interest of anybody who wants to come to Uganda. Why, if I have 197 countries to put my money, why would I go to a country that's always having disease? Number two, it was the mentioning of security challenges, or rebels have crossed. All those actually made sure that we don't grow as a sector, for example, in tourism. Now, that has been solved. We've had the Minister of Health quiet for some 8-9 months now. We have had Ministry of Defense quiet for over 9 months. And I can tell you the difference between their talking and being quiet. There's been a lot of improvement in terms of business inflow in the country. If you've been very observant, you have seen so many influencers from West Africa following each other coming to Uganda. There have been so many influencers from the Western world coming to Uganda. Why? Because we've just been kept quiet for just 8 months, and you can see the amount of influence on Uganda that is actually happening around the world. Now, money, what is it called? Isn't it called a currency? A currency is from the current of water. That's where actually the word currents came from. Currents moves.
It flows.
It flows, And I think for me what actually is shocking is that no one is bothered about how much money leaves the economy.
And it flows where the incentives are.
Absolutely. We've already been having a bigger outflow of cash than inflow. Now, you have small inflow. And you know what I say, if you want to succeed, whether you're an individual or a government, you need 100 diameter of income with 10 diameter of what? Expenditure. That's when you can say you're going to progress. Now, I have a diameter of 20, and an expenditure of 100 a diameter. I even want to kill the 20 such that I have probably 5% of income, 5 diameter of 5 for income, and still remain with, because they actually the external, the amount of money that leaves the country is actually not reducing, it's growing. If you look at maybe 2025, I think our total export was just above 12.5 billion, value of total exports. When you look at that total of exports, about just over $6.5 billion is from gold. And gold, we're not a primary source market. We are a secondary source. So when you talk about the total earnings of the country is about $6 billion in terms of all of us tourism, export of agriculture product. Now, in the Western world, you would see that that's a business. It's not a country. It's not supposed to be what a country is supposed to earn. It's actually what businesses earn. If you look at Ethiopian Airlines, their first quarter, Dr. Moms, I think you have seen that, was 4.5. The first half year declaration of the first half year was $4.5 billion from just Ethiopian Airlines. Not the value of the goods Ethiopia exported, but the value that was brought in by Ethiopian Airlines by carrying passengers and carrying these goods to different parts of the world. Now, their estimate of earning from just one airline is about $9 billion. But you have not put everything else that the economy actually fights to. And these are our neighbors. You can say the US is big. You can say Canada is big, or whatever it is. Just our neighbors here, we have always kept saying, why are they very strong? Kenya, for example. Why is one bank in Kenya making far much more money than all our 23 banks combined? Kenya has got 35 profitable banks. I was looking at statistics for 2025, and they tell you KCB made about 2.3 trillion shillings equivalent in terms of net profit. Far much more than what our 23 banks made in terms of net profit, which was less than 1.9 trillion shillings. See what I'm talking about. Now, when you have a situation like that, it is in your interest that you don't make noise to block the income. You should make noise to block the outflow. That is what government of Uganda must consider. But the challenge, of course, is that, yes, while we have a few people in parliament that understand business, we largely have, parliament is largely a consumer environment. And it's very difficult sometimes for consumer environment to understand the inflow and outflow of cash. And I hope that those that understand that are doing businesses can actually go and convince those who consume to say, guys, I think what we're doing right now is not the right thing for tourism. And when you talk about tourism, there are many Ugandans that are in diaspora that actually are starting to invest in accommodations, Airbnbs around the city. Those actually are already foreign agents in their own right. But the other thing is that there is also sometimes misuse of power. I may say, okay, I am targeting these guys like Dr. Mahomes has talked about Katonga, that actually that want to destroy Katonga, who are two, and maybe 10,000 those that are right individuals. You may want to say, I am going to target those two, and I'm not going to so much concentrate on the 10,000. However, if Dr. Muhumuza becomes the president of Uganda and he says, you know what, I don't like the way Wekesa smiles, and because I am in tourism and I'm dealing with wholesalers in Europe or Kenya or Tanzania, he will use the same law. He can actually craft the same law into sorting out his personal differences with me as an individual.
No, I don't even have to become a president.
Yeah.
I just need to know Gamba Nogo. Who do I talk to?
You can be
and I'm interested in your business.
100%.
Kill you and I take it off. And then I mess it up.
100%. And you won't even run it because you don't understand.
I don't understand it.
So I think it's important that we know our challenge as a country. You're producing between 1.3 to 1.5 million new Ugandans every single year. 1 million Ugandans are turning 18 every year. These guys need jobs. You are having over 800,000 people graduating and those joining the job market from the age of 14. Fighting for less than 50,000 jobs, really good jobs in this economy every single year. Now, the least thing you can do as a country is to fight anything that is going to create opportunities. For the first time in Uganda, by the way, the reason why Kenya and Tanzania are far ahead of us, when I say far ahead of us, I'm saying just from tourism as a government of Tanzania last year, we collected $4.1 billion. As a country, both domestic and international arrivals, we collected less than $2 billion. What it means that Tanzania could have collected 10 billion. The population would have collected 10 billion from tourism. However, government made $4.1 billion from tourism. The reason why we are behind as a country is because we have not had some very strong entities that have muscle big muscles for marketing the countries. Like, for example, one and only one is not in Uganda, where you have these rooms where they charge $27,000, but they have a big market all over the world that they can position you. Singitas of this world who are now thinking about coming to Uganda. Assyria is now constructing a first lodge in Bwindi. But each of these companies uses far much more money to market themselves as companies than Uganda will ever want to spend in marketing a whole country. Now, when they come in your country, you take advantage of their muscle in order to also grow. And they're starting to pick interest in Uganda. Today, I've just had a call from a friend of mine who's wanted to invest in Uganda and Tanzania, called Ken. Ken told me, man, I've just seen this bill. Why should I bring money to Uganda? Tell me more about Tanzania. I am going to go and invest my money. Let's invest in an area which is not having so many problems. I'm in Dubai. Dubai is already facing big problems. I don't want to go to another country that is facing another problem. This is just 1 hour ago.
All right. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. We're going to go for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue looking at some of the other issues that this bill talks about when it comes to issues of the economy and what are the responses of some stakeholders on those particular issues have been. Keep your comments coming via the WhatsApp line 0703 090 090. Spectrum continues after this break.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Thank you so much for staying with us on Spectrum, live on Radio 1 FM 90. Today we are looking at the likely impact of the protection of national sovereignty law on the economy. Parliament is scrutinizing that particular bill, and a number of stakeholders have been going to the joint committee, that's the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, and the Committee on Defense and Internal Affairs that was, put together by the Speaker to look at this bill and report to the House as soon as possible. A number of issues in that particular bill that touch matters of the economy, including movement of money. If you're going to bring in this country money that is above 400 million shillings, you need permission from the Minister of Internal Affairs. There are issues to do with a fine of 2 billion shillings and a jail term of 20 years if you're found in contravention of this particular law. Ugandans who are abroad will be described as foreigners, and people have been talking about what happens to the remittances. And today we heard from Bank of Uganda and other government institutions that appeared before the committee, including the Financial Intelligence Authority, opposing this particular law. Today I'm speaking to Dr. Fred Muhumuza, Senior Economist and Director, Economic Forum, Makerere University Business School, and Mr. Amos Wekesa, Founder and CEO, Great Lakes Safaris, Head of the Rwenzori Marathon Organizing Committee, a key player in the tourism subsector in our country. Now, Dr. Fred Muhumuza,
a lot of Ugandans. That's why it's going through the processes of Uganda. Now, the question that many people are asking is about the whole matter of sovereignty. How do I protect my sovereignty?
The economic sovereignty.
Including individual, because a lot of things, I'm saying it will disrupt our politics, it will disrupt our many other things. Sovereignty can be a relative term. Venezuela, by the way, is a sovereign state. Could it protect its president? Or was it about money? Iran is a sovereign state. Even South Sudan is a sovereign state. So you want to define and say, yes, I am sovereign. Where are the risks? And how do I deal with them? Some countries, to protect their sovereignty, they make alliances. Greenland's sovereignty was under threat. America wanted to walk in and could have walked in. But the European Union sent very clear signals to the mighty America to say, you dare with Greenland, it belongs to one of our colleagues here. Not that he's taken away their sovereignty. The Greenlanders are still sovereign fellows, they do their thing there. So there are so many things that you want to come back and say, what exactly is at stake? When people are fighting for independence, they thought, let's be independent, we protect our sovereignty as Africans. These colonialists. 50 years down the road, 60 years for some African countries, 70 for others, you come and look back and say, what did being sovereign mean? Did we solve the common human problems of health, of education, of housing, now that we were in charge, of transport? I mean, there are certain things you want to come back and say, what is at threat? True, you want to be sovereign. How do I protect my sovereignty? If you are still taking people to India for treatment, including government officials, are you sovereign? If something as basic as that. But now here we have had a very good breakthrough. Cancer Institute, thank you very much. They have just done a bone marrow transplant.
The first of its kind in Uganda.
Do you know how many people are flying out of this region to go to India to do bone marrow transplants? Now Uganda is saying, guys, the technology is here. The only thing I was missing out is money. So South Sudan, Kenya, Rwanda can simply send their money here
100%.
and say, guys, if the problem was money, because I know the technology is there, the theater is there, you can do the thing.
But even the Cancer Institute will tell you, in order to do that operation, they had to collaborate.
Of course they did.
With experts who are foreigners.
Because there is a person who wants to come in here and say, guys, how do you pay me? Now I need to send money for this guy, but also I will have to receive it, and I can buffer up a queue, so that when this guy flies in to do this operation, I already have 30 people lined up. The guy is going to be here for 3 weeks doing a camp of these operations. And for every operation, it's going to cost you $25,000. Cancer Institute picks off $3,000. Times 30, I have done the investment I needed to do in a PET scan that Mr. Government couldn't find. But also, as Amos has said, this is Ugandan money. The nurses are going to get some portion. Where they are recovering from, they will get a portion. You don't kill global trade. And as I've said, global trade and global business, money is the currency. It flows to facilitate these things. So you're just in the middle of a very good thing. There are very many foreigners, by the way, who are some of the best cancer treatment facilities here in Mulago. And people are coming from the region. And they are paying. They will come. Ugandans pay less. Sometimes they don't even pay anything. But we are leveraging and managing these systems out of these flows of monies. Now, some of these people are coming in from poor countries, financed by their peers abroad. Which peer is sitting in the US? But is going to say, I can't bring you to the US for this treatment. I can't bring you to the US for this education. But it is within the region. You go to Uganda, I will facilitate you from there. So you want to understand which money is moving before you block it. As we have said, there is always a criminal in a car. You remember border borders when they were hitting people, carrying these people who were shooting others? Government could have said, no more border borders. But they quickly said, wait a minute. Border borders is where everybody moves. And they are doing a big job. Can we improve our skill of catching the criminals? And I want to believe police has caught so many criminals that they have not come back to us, who would have used the border borders to commit crime. So the means are there within government. You only have to take that spirit and say, let me not kill the economy, because a strong economy is one that is duly and gainfully integrated in the global world.
There's also been a debate about what sovereign we are protecting when it comes to the economy. Some people have been saying that the government itself handed over a long time ago the sovereign of this country when it comes to issues of the economy. When you have foreigners, taking the lead in managing your economy and contributing to it, running your essential. Yes. There's been something there. Do we have any sovereignty to protect when it comes to the economy?
That's what I'm saying. Sovereignty, you have to define it because it is relative in a globalized setting. Your sovereignty is part of how do you deal with the other global actors. And as you've said, I've seen these emotional statements in Uganda where say banks are foreign. Why are banks taking out profits? No, profit is a small component of equity. Amos here would tell you. By the time I take out a profit of 100 billion, I possibly brought 5 trillion into your economy.
And there's been a trickle-down.
So when I brought it, why didn't you stop it? But I didn't just come and bury the money there. This man has been moving around, facilitating Ugandans. I like the joke people brought the other day when they were saying our banks, we sold our local banks. And somebody said, guys, in the 80s and 90s, Uganda Commercial Bank was tapping from government to get money for itself, to manage itself. Now, we sold it to Stanbic. Today, government is tapping into Stanbic to finance its business. What a better way to put it. Now, when Stanbic brings in money from South Africa, wherever they mobilize it from, and the government of Uganda accesses it through a bond, to do its thing that make it actually citizens to say, yes, we are sovereign. The road to Kaberamaido has been done. The schools, wherever has been invested. Cut us off a bond issued invested in by a foreign person. Now, that is my sovereignty. It is intertwined with how am I engaging in the global dynamics. There are basics I must protect, but matters of money, matters of education, a lot of us will have to study abroad. If you want to train a nuclear scientist, and we are saying we want to go nuclear, do you have any skill here? You're literally going to say a bit of my sovereignty, this guy has to go and train from America, this one must go and train from Russia, this one in China, but I haven't lost my sovereignty. I'm actually securing it, that going forward, I will have nuclear scientists. But at a certain point, I seemed like I had lost it. So I've got to define sovereignty not in a narrow scope, all right, and put delimiters to say, if I really want to protect my interest, I've always told people, when my wife is pregnant, it is my interest. But I'm going to outsource a gynecologist and pay them and even allow them to go and do whatever they want to do with my wife. It's like I've lost her to them. But I'm protecting my interest. It's the same thing when this person delivers the child, now a pediatrician steps in. We sign off our rights when we go to medical doctors. The guys do everything. They're even going to make you sleep. By the time you wake up, they have cut you and sealed you. But it is about my sovereignty. So you want to put measures in place to say, even when I'm asleep in theater, the system I am in, I am actually protecting my humanity, and my going concern as a person, because if I remain with this disease, I'm dying in 3 months. But if I surrender to these guys to do what they do best, and I'm trusting systems, that's why I'm back, and money laundering is there, Financial Intelligence Authority is there, the central bank is there. If there is any government agency that is weak, let us strengthen them, but don't blow the Katonga Bridge, because 2 criminals passed through with a border and an AK-47 and stole a cow.
All right. Let's go to Mr. Amos Wekesa. Mr. Amos Wekesa, I want to put the same question to you. Is there any sovereignty? Is there any sovereignty we are protecting when it comes to the economy, looking at how the global dynamics are at play?
I think, yes, of course, I agree with the doctor on a number of things. It's just that when it comes to essential sectors, I think for Ugandans must understand that essential sectors are sectors that will always operate, whether you have catastrophes or not, or challenges or not. Those are essential sectors. So essential sectors are like your banking, your telecom, your insurance, things that actually control. And I disagree, of course, with Dr. About ownership. You cannot have 87% of your banking in foreign hands and you start thinking that you're actually of any use to your own economy. Actually, you're not. And yet, when you look at the total banking, I've just told you that one of the reasons why the banking is very small is because the owners of the profits are not in Uganda. Those profits are not, in fact, a lot of the money here in our banking system is money that has been generated by Ugandans when banked in these institutions. That is where the profits are made and taken to the owners of the banks who profits are externalized. Now, that has stifled us, even just dreaming that we're also going to tap into other economies. I don't think there's no country in the world that has developed when all its essential sectors are in foreign hands. You can't. It doesn't matter what you try to do. And that's the reason why we need to just look at our neighbors, Kenya or Tanzania. Tanzania just woke up recently and said, you know what? We have challenges of, the tourism industry, for example, growing out of our hands. What have they done? They've just set up what they call the Tanzania Commercial Bank. And they are capitalizing Tanzania Commercial Bank. I was in Arusha recently. The CEO of Tanzania Commercial Bank flew to actually meet me in Arusha to tell me if I want to do business, they will be able to support me because I'm not too far from being a Tanzanian. That's what they were trying to tell me at the time. Now,
you're a foreign agent.
It's I think for me, it's just saying that look at what Equity is doing, for example. Don't you feel nice if you're a Kenyan and for example, we're controlling Uganda, you're controlling Congo's business, and we're here as Kenyans. KCB, everywhere you go. Ugandans can never go and invest and own banking anywhere else because they don't even own it here. And the idea for us is to say, wait a minute, who is running these banks? The Ugandans. Can't we have a bigger percentage? And by the way, let me tell you, for economies to grow, when you have your essential sectors or the major sectors being controlled by the locals, it gives confidence to the people who are coming in, because they know that when the locals have stake, it will be protected. When the locals have no stake, you cannot throw, if you're living in a glass house, it is very rare that you will throw a stone. But when you live in a grass-thatched house, it's easier for you to throw a stone, because I will hit my own house. You know what I'm talking about. So it is important in that area for us to think. And I must say that people like us try to attempt, but I think Oting must be hearing why I'm a very angry man here. He's blocked. When any Ugandan bank or anything goes down, this Bank of Uganda does completely nothing, make sure. When a Ugandan is involved, they don't actually help. But let me also say that the discussion of this bill must be solved quickly. We cannot continue getting louder and louder on this topic. And it must be solved by the parliament saying, you know what, guys, we're going to listen to the people quietly. We are going to adjust it to meet the needs of the government, in place. But those needs are not going to destroy the country in terms of cash flow.
All right. We're now going to go and hear the thoughts of the listener who has been with us from the time we began this discussion to try and make sense of some of the issues and how they perceive them. Because at the end of the day, this law is about the ordinary Ugandan, like you've already stated. But as we wait for these comments to come in, what kind of advice would you give Dr. Fred Muhumuza? There's been, of course, a discussion going on whether the bill should be withdrawn and available laws strengthened, whether we should actually leave things the way they are, and there's no need to come up with another law. What would be your advice?
When a bill reaches that level, there are many options, and that's why people are engaging. Parliament can say on the basis of the submissions received, we have rejected it. The executive itself can withdraw it and say on the basis of the information we have received, we have withdrawn it for further review and consideration. And as some people are saying, by the time a government agency like Central Bank goes to Parliament, it means somewhere we missed a point, because the Central Bank should have been consulted
long before the bill
drafting,
okay.
Before you get there. So when you see this, the bankers should have been consulted so that these views are all put in. But I think there was a rush on this for one reason or another. But we still have time, because the bill it's still a bill. You want to avoid it to get to a level of an act. But as I've already said, that noise we have created, there are some people who would never believe in us again. And these are the people out there, they have their money, and they want to bring it here. Because for me, which sensitive sector is more sensitive than the telecommunications? So if MTN can come here and offer the service to millions of Ugandans, one in terms of jobs, agents out there, people doing what, but also a service. Mobile money, we are talking, we are transacting, we're even paying taxes, cut us off an MTN investment. This is a foreigner in a sensitive sector. So when you have no money, and there are people with money, this is why we liberalized and then privatized. Let the people with money bring in their money here. Aga Khan is building a huge hospital here. Serena here is not a joke. It's big business. These are foreigners. They will come and put for you monies here. So ownership is usually not necessarily must be local. But the benefits is what you want to protect. There are so many people who don't own houses. But once they have paid their rent for 1 year, you're not going to come and say, leave my house. There is a contractual agreement. So we want to say, how do we benefit? The banking sector is a sector for people with money. And thank you, Bank of Uganda. Recently they increased and said the capital must be 150 billion. Not many local banks can manage that. We have been there. I also have Ugandan banks. Centenary is a local bank. And I've just been discussing with the people in government. They are doing well on government joint programs, Youth Venture Capital Fund, Livelihood. Centenary is one of the topmost already leading that conversation. And the others are joining in. So for me, where economy is, you might say Uganda Airlines owned. But who does the service of those planes? Who gives it the certification that it can fly? It's certainly not Uganda. It's a global system. So that positive engagement is what we don't want this This bill can actually run from there. To say in aviation, we are interlinked with the global world. Even others are flying over us, we are flying over others, there is no problem.
All right. Let's get the comments coming in. And let me begin with this one. I've from day one vehemently disagreed over discussing this infamous bill, most especially when key stakeholders like Bank of Uganda, Bankers Association, etc. haven't been consulted. The bill was on a fishing expedition without realizing the dire consequences. Sometimes I wonder who advises government under such circumstances. Two, the bill, as it is, criminalizes Ugandans abroad, tourists, and who send money ahead for bookings, sometimes as groups of families when they intend to visit Uganda. You want the money, and yet you criminalize the sender. Where is the logic? The bill is dead on arrival in its entirety. It's merely a duplication of already existing laws under Financial Intelligence Authority, anti-money laundering laws, and Bank of Uganda itself as a key regulator of funds coming into the country. It's common knowledge that the funds from the diaspora and the Kadamas has been able to stabilize the shilling against the dollar, something that must not go unnoticed. In my opinion, government must stop its mood swings, tabling reasonable bills, thinking they are targeting the opposition, yet there is risk injuring the whole economy, as it can never remain sovereign country without financial reserves, and those gaps deliberated by the governor, Bank of Uganda, must be entirely shelved. That's Kamugo Fred Keita, listening in from Chira Municipality. Charles Ogwang in Kumi. Good evening, Spectrum. Gentlemen, the problem of the government is not who has good ideas, but who wants what and benefits. That's the reason brave Ugandans will always be kept out of good decision-making. So that bill will be passed in favor of the NRM. Good evening. I work for an international organization I will not mention here, with a presence in Sub-Saharan Africa and Latin America, Europe, and Asia. Today, the General Board met on this Ugandan Sovereignty Bill. At UK lunchtime, they resolved that once passed, the Uganda chapter automatically ceases to operate. This will affect the humanitarian work we do in Uganda. You can imagine the repercussion thereafter. For example, I will not have a salary job anymore. My children's education and other needs will be interrupted just in the name of protection of sovereignty bill. The truth is that the bill is a destruction of the national sovereignty. It's not about the good of the country. That's a comment from Fred. Amaza Moyo writes in, gentlemen, that law belongs to the headquarters of Uganda. It will sail through by all means, given the situation where MPs received some beef already. Then we have this comment, thanks for the great discussion. Buwembo Fred Kajimu from Mukono, Kisoga Katosi. He says the people who support such a bill they are not aware of what it means when it comes to both cash inflows and cash outflows. Lastly, most commercial banks here are owned by foreigners. Maybe they should stop them. These MPs who are supporting it, they also benefit when inflows, which comes in the form of school fees from our relatives outside the country. So they should remind about the money we use to educate us. Mostly is got from outside. The one we get from here is just to eat and pay rent. We can't even survive. That's a comment that comes in from Kajimu, who is listening in from Mukono. Well, gentlemen, we have about 2 minutes to get out of here. I want to begin with you, Mr. Amos Wekesa, your closing remarks as we come to the end of this discussion.
I think, thank you so much for hosting us today. And I also want to say that we've emphasized one thing. The noise is not good noise. The Minister of Finance said that money hates noise. He should be on the forefront pushing for stoppage of this noise by making sure that all thoughts are rescinded.
All right. A comment comes in from Nick, who says, Mr. Amos Wekesa's arguments on ownership of banks are spot on and extremely intelligent. The liberalization was pushed down our throats, but the West did not privatize everything. Look at the railway with bus transport in Europe and Japan. For instance, it's majorly government, but extremely cheap, efficient and profitable. It moves labor fast and cheap. That is good for productivity and growth. That's a comment that comes in from Nicholas. Your closing remark, Dr. Fred Muhumza.
I want to give credit to the Uganda government for putting in place processes such that this can happen. You imagine if this was a directive from Trump and we wake up all in the morning, find it on our social media, President Museveni has signed it. So credit to the government of Uganda for putting a measure that we can even have this discussion. The only thing I pray from them is we allow the process to influence the decision. Right. Or inform rather than influence. Right. Inform the ultimate decision. Thank you.
All right. With that, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for creating time to come and discuss this issue. Like I promised you, dear listener, that we'll continue engaging different stakeholders to try and understand why this law is important. We are also pursuing government officials who should come here and explain why they think this law is very important and why it should actually be enacted by Parliament. Thank you so much for tuning in and contributing to this discussion. Stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90 because the news in English, Miss Josephine Dagano, is up next. Thereafter, we'll have the Soul Train with Baby June.